the EL?
Please do.
Thank you. He was very clear that he's not supporting this process. I haven't asked that question. I will not respond. I won't dwell on it. If again, maybe my extension was supported, again, we won't be here. In the recruitment of this process, we ended up with 2 recommended shortlisted candidates.
Shaka, before you, and forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your surname properly.
No, it's fine.
I heard you when you started. I just want to understand page 46 and to understand your evidence about it. You are the one that wrote this letter to the city manager. You are nodding. The record doesn't pick that up.
Apologies, I couldn't hear that.
Yeah, I'm asking. You wrote this letter to the city manager, or is it Chief Mapiaye who wrote the letter?
If you see the standard of how we communicate in the city, there will be inquiries. So the acting DHTA and HRBP drafted the letter.
Yes.
And I'm supporting it because it's our process in HR that we took proactive measures when there is a position to be filled.
I'm not asking who drafted the letter, and I'm really trying to understand what I'm seeing here. I'm not probing yet. I'm not asking who drafted the letter. I'm asking this letter to Dr. Mashazi. Who is it from? It's not from your...
It's from myself, Mrs.
Yes,
Linda
which
Kasha.
is what it says in page
Yes.
1, right?
Yes.
But in page 2, the first signatory is going to be Chief Mapiaye, and then you are the one that recommend, even though you're the one that's writing the letter. I'm just trying to understand how it works, what one makes of it.
As I said, in my own statement, normally, the way we write these letters are written by my office to Dr. Mashazi, where I would recommend to Dr. Mashazi that let's extend because the recruitment process is not yet concluded. And then she'll say, I agree or not. I think when we get to my annexures, you'll see there's one example I've put, 1 or 2, if I'm not mistaken, where in other instances you will tick, this one you can extend, this one you cannot. So this is how we're doing it. But here I'm emphasizing, Commissioner, on the issue of Section 64.
No, please don't
So
go
hence
there.
both
No,
of them are here.
No, please don't go there. That's not my question. My question is, and maybe let me tell you where my confusion comes from, is on page 1, the letter is from you. It says so. And then on page 2, you are recommending, and Chief appears to be the author of the letter, just the order of things. I'm asking you to speak to the order. My experience and what we have seen so far here in other matters is the writer of the letter would be the first person to sign. So I would, because of that experience and that kind of evidence, I would have expected you as the author, you are the first name that appears, not Chief Mapiaye. You wouldn't be the one that's recommending because you are the one that's the author of the letter. That's my experience of it and from the evidence. So I'm just asking you to explain just that part.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Chair, as I say that the intention here, under normal circumstances, hence maybe it would have drafted a bit peculiar, we could have done it better. I normally address these letters straight to Dr. Mashazi and not include the line departments because we would have had a discussion about. But because EMPD tends to, we have these challenges of the SEPS Act, so hence then I would have included Chief. But I take note of that it could have been done differently. But what I want to emphasize on, in terms of usurping of powers, I have 3 signatories here. So there was never an intention to usurp anybody's
Ms.
power.
Kasheka, that's a conversation further down the line about
Thank
usurping
you.
of powers, so you don't speak to that now. You've answered my question
Thank
to
you.
the best of your ability, I suppose. Thanks, Mr. Chaskalson.
Thank you.
And maybe if you can then just emphasize paragraph 43, which is, well, if you can do it rather than me.
43, from my statement. Yeah?
From your statement, indeed.
Thank you. Okay, it reads that notwithstanding the above, this request was not implemented, and subsequently, the position of Deputy Chief of Police, Specialized Operations was advertised. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I would like to correct that, we already advertised by that time. And EMPD, in conjunction with the HR department, embarked on a recruitment, selection, and appointment process for the position of the director. The mere fact that there were 3 signatories, that on its own should be clear as an indication that there was never a malicious intention to overlook the Chief of Police, but one aim was to provide proactive HR services and required guidance to the EMPD at all times. That further indicates that my intention and aim was to ensure that all relevant parties are engaged in this regard. I think we've spoken to this. Thank you.
And maybe, I mean, there is a document that's attached as LLG 13 to your statement. It's at page 84 of file 2. And that looks to me like a motivation for the extension of 2 other divisional heads whose terms were expiring roundabouts the same time.
Can you repeat that, John?
If you go to page 84 of file 2, there is a document that has the label LLG 13, which isn't actually the LLG 13 that's referred to in your statement. That LLG 13 is the document in Mr. Mapie's bundle that we've just looked at. But this LLG 13 seems to me to be a similar letter in which you request an extension of 2 other divisional heads' contracts which were expiring roundabouts at the same time. Am I understanding this letter correctly?
Thank you, Chair. I think that's what I was trying to explain even to Commissioner Baloyi, that normally I will write straight to Dr. Mashaz, the city manager, where there's extensions to be done. And this one confirms that when Chief decided to decline the extension at EMPD, we further pursued only those 2 other divisional heads, and we excluded the one of the Deputy Chief of Police. And if you can see there on page 85, there's only 2 signatures. But in this instance, those other HODs would have been, as I say, engaged myself, and they would want us to run with these processes. Thank you so much.
If we can then go to the allegation in paragraph 3.2, the allegation is that you unlawfully interfered with the disciplinary processes which were instituted against Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi concerning his involvement in the fraudulent registration of 7 vehicles which were owned / related to CAT VIP, to the municipality's official vehicle fleet in your capacity as HOD in that. And 3.2.1, you uplifted the suspension of Brigadier Mkhwanazi under the direction of Dr. Mashazi. 3.2.2, you directed Brigadier Mkhwanazi not to accept receipt of the charge sheet when arrangements were being made to serve it on him by Mr. Sidzambe. 3.2.3, you challenged and overruled the decision by Chief Mapie to deploy Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi to the EMPD operations by law enforcement unit pending finalization of the disciplinary process. your response starts at paragraph 44. And maybe you can take the Commission through paragraphs 44 on.
Thank you, Chair. I think paragraph 44, it repeats what you just articulated, EL. I would like to refer rather to paragraph 45. I submit that to the best of my recollection of those events, the issue of blue lights came to my attention, came to the attention of the municipal officials based on the social media clips, video clips, that have been circulating at the time. I think it was around February 2023, I hope I'm correct with the dates. I emphasize that at this point, I was the acting HOD HR, and I didn't know Julius Mkhwanazi, since he was middle management in terms of occupational levels. And I would not necessarily know all the employees. I've already spoken to the head count or staff complement of Ekurhuleni of about 15,000 permanent employees and 8,000 temps and EPWPs. On the 2nd February 2023, the acting chief of police, Rivers Peace, initiated the investigation. I think that's what I'm trying to explain in terms of what transpired, and the allegations that were leveled against the erstwhile Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi, pertaining to the document issued by Commissioner Julius Mkhwanazi to receive and appoint vehicles and cab services, respectively. A copy of the investigation letter, I think we have dealt with it. Even the other witnesses who came here, they've dealt with it. The issue was brought to my attention.
Can I ask you just to confirm that we're talking about the same document? It's at page 86 of file 2.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
The issue came to my attention through Mr. Nziza. I think it was around 15th February 2023. That's why we're in this journey. Via WhatsApp, where he shared the video clips regarding the blue lights that were installed in some cars, although it did not show, by the way, who was in the car, nor the registration, but what I saw in the TikTok video clip, it was just written, typed by somebody, the registration. Xolani Nziza then requested a meeting to discuss the suspension of Julius Mkhwanazi. It is imperative that one outlines the city's designation. By the way, Commissioner Mkhwanazi, in terms of how he's appointed, I think I've already alluded to that, is the Deputy Chief of Police. A few days later, the meeting was held in the boardroom of the city manager. Xolani and Chief Mabiyeye engaged me in the boardroom of the city manager. And this will be subsequent to the meeting, it is on their statement, where Chief of Police and Xolani Nziza went to meet with Dr. Mashazi, I think in Dada Motor dealership, something like that. There's a meeting that took place there in some offices, strange enough. And in their discussion, from what I read here, in their statements, then Dr. Mashazi said, engage the acting HOD as well, so that she's kept abreast. Again, commissioners and chairperson, I want to bring it to you that we were brought into this matter by the Chief of Police. It takes a junior employee, instead of disciplining the junior employee, he feels he must engage Dr. Mashazi and he must engage, subsequently I must be engaged. It's correct, I'm the acting HOD. Xolani Nziza reports to me, by the way. He's a divisional head, and he always continued to report to me. We met in the boardroom, and I was interested on the videos in terms of what is actually happening there, what is that evidence? You know, before I can even agree on that we embark on a disciplinary hearing. As I said earlier on, I couldn't understand those video clips. All I knew is that Mr. Xolani Nziza, in his WhatsApp, he did say we are in a war. Obviously, I needed to understand what war is this. The conversation changed very quickly, Chairperson, and it focused on how dangerous Mr. Mkhwanazi is and how the chief of police is scared of him. He told us that he has increased up his VIP protectors. He is about to install cameras and beef up security in his house. I then asked, if we can correct that, what about Xolani Ngciza and myself? We are divisional heads, I was just acting. We don't have money to beef up our securities in our homes, and so forth. The chief, in his response, he then says, look, I'm arranging VIP protection for Xolani. Already, I think he got himself 2 cars. And I said in that meeting, Chief, I'm a woman. You are arranging protection for yourselves. You don't arrange, you don't care about my safety. I think Mr. Ngciza attested to that. I then said, if you don't care about my safety, but can you take care of I've got a baby, I just had a small baby, that I must raise up. Chief was just cold. He didn't see how important it is to take care of my protection. It was just shocking. I then left the boardroom, Chair, I'll say that. I left the boardroom, I didn't sign any suspension letter, I didn't confirm that I'm going to participate in the process. A day or 2 days later, Chief kept on calling me and says, acting HOD, you have to sign the suspension. I've got a professional duty to sign, despite I'm safe or I'm not safe. And I want it to be recorded here. I think it is on the documents that ultimately I did sign the intention to suspend. Despite their own chief of police who has gun, firearms we don't have, told us how scared of this person, but because of judicial duty, I did sign that suspension letter as well.
Just
I then
confirm-
asked his
sorry,
chief.
Just confirm it's on 88. 88 of your
It's
file.
in page 88, where I've signed. And Xolani Ngciza, who was reporting to me until he left the city of Ekurhuleni, he was reporting to me. He also signed. And then J.D. Mkhwanazi acknowledged the receipt. Thank you, Chief. I then said to Chief after a few days, Chief, at least can you conduct a security risk and threat analysis into our lives? I did, I think Mr. Ngciza spoke to it, that I said, I don't necessarily have an interest to have VIP protectors. I think they should be focusing on doing other things in the city. But at least I need to know how I should take care of myself and my family. Chief, he sort of agreed that he will speak to provincial or national commissioner and see if this can be conducted. I followed up with him, and at some point he told me he hasn't spoken to them, but he's going to the policy cluster meeting, and when he goes there, he will speak to the issue. I must emphasize, commissioners, that City of Ekurhuleni does not only deal with disciplinary procedures of EMPD, but it provides labor relations management functions to all the departments. I've spoken to this earlier on. As we're embarking and Chief not conducting this risk threat analysis, one of the things we're discussing with Mr. Xolani Ngciza is the issue that perhaps, that's what he kept on saying to me, there might be syndicate even at roads and transport, at waste. Last year, again, we had a matter at roads and transport. The MMC, apologies, the late MMC, he was pressurizing me that, Linda, this matter must be dealt with and be concluded. And when I'm asked that we have compliance matters to deal with, we've got procedures to follow, he then says, there's a TLB syndicate at roads. They still TLB, those trucks with those nose, and take them to the Eastern Cape. We allocated one of our legal advisors to deal with the matter. Subsequently, she went to Advocate Kemi Bihar and myself and request protection. I asked her, do you really want to have protection? People who follow you, why don't you leave this thing? Let's get external lawyers to deal with this matter. We have so many cases where employees will start with those matters, investigate, even at EMPD. And then as the time goes on, they will stop investigating those matters at Shell. I also had an incident in another matter where there's a company, maybe I shouldn't mention name, that was paid money from the city's bank accounts to this company that has never done business with the city. Is not in our supplier database, but money went to that. And there was an employee who were conducting a disciplinary process for in regarding to that because he was one of the key signatures. That matter is still ongoing. I was approached by the union who was representing that employee. He then says to me, HOD, I want to protect your life. I would like you to settle this matter and let this employee go. And the reason being that if you don't settle it, what they did to one of the councillor's house, there was a councillor his house was shot at. It was like a movie, those movies we used to watch when we were young. I've never seen something like that. He then referred and said, they will do the same to your house. I called, I think Chief was already on suspension that time. I called Deputy Chief of Police Mkhwanazi the following day. I said, come and listen to this. The kind of things we're dealing with. When the employee came there, he explained, but we said, can he reduce it in writing? He did not. I don't want to dwell on that, but I'm just dealing with the challenges that we're having at Ekurhuleni.
Just remind
Building
us
to
where
my
you are.
suspension.
Sorry. Just remind us where you are because you have moved.
I'm on
about.
page 15 of my statement, paragraph 46.7. On days building to my suspension, I pleaded with the Oversight Committee on the Office of the Executive Mayor and the Legislature, it's called OCMOL, meeting, that the city embarks on its own task team. Chairperson, with due respect, your task team has got limited scope. And Ekurhuleni, we've got, what we're dealing with here is the small part of the tip of the iceberg. We've discussed that issue, and I'm hoping maybe with the new team that is established by President, they'll also look at other issues as well. I can confirm here that HR management function nowadays is embedded with such risk. On the issue of the security risk and threat analysis, I would like to thank the Commission. After 2 or 3 years, at least it was done here. And I'm very happy about that. Ekurhuleni has not done risk and threat analysis on us. They have been providing us with protectors, but is that enough? I don't know.
Please just explain a little bit more on what you said about the tip of the iceberg.
Maybe let me go to another issue, Chairperson. I'm the secretary for the Financial Misconduct Disciplinary Board in the city of Ekurhuleni. I think we have 4 members that were appointed. It's one of the national treasury requirements that it must happen. The investors, they want to know about these issues. And when we're having discussion, after we drafted the terms of reference, then it came from the CEA, the current chief auditor, Mr. Philip Rahwale, that is currently sitting with 20 to 40 forensic cases that have been concluded. And these are one of the issues we discussed with OCMOL, And the MMC, I think Pretorius used to be, is the former MMC for corporate, he also knows about this, and others, that bring these cases to the fore. Let's find a way of dealing with them and know what we're dealing with. If possible, we close them. And the forensic firm report to Mkhwanazi that I'll speak to, I think it was one part of those. And the intention, my understanding of his operating model is that once he has concluded investigations, those investigations must then be taken to council for implementation, whatever the recommendations are. So I think that's what I was trying to explain, that your scope, your respect, I respect, and we're learning from South Africa, from this commission. We might have missed others, but this one, we're learning. Hence, I propose that the OCMOL speak to all the HODs, let them ventilate, let's deal with the issues. But I would like to keep it at that for now. Based on the allegations, I'm on paragraph 47, page 15. Based on these allegations, a suspension was signed. We already spoken to that. I don't know if I can move on, EL, to the uplifting of the suspension.
Please do.
Thank you. In terms of the collective agreement on disciplinary procedure, a suspension, it's 3 months. However, it can be extended. I think it reads that suspension or utilization of an employee in another capacity shall be for a fixed predetermined period and shall not exceed 3 months from date that the municipal manager or his representative is satisfied that there is a prima facie case and that an act of misconduct has been committed. However, where circumstances prohibit the conclusion of the disciplinary proceedings within the aforementioned timeframe, suspension or utilization in another capacity can be extended for another 3 months. That's the reason then, Chair, on page 40, paragraph 48, on page 16, I had to put that paragraph that talks to the accounting officer and her instructions. That, by the way, I also on section 60 of the MFMA and also section 64B of the SEPS Act. Dr. Mashaz called us. I'm on page 50. Paragraph 50. Around the month of May 2023, the accounting officer called the Chief of Police, Xolani, and HOD Kemi Bihari and myself into a meeting. She wanted answers as to why the disciplinary hearing process of the erstwhile Brigadier Mkhwanazi has not commenced. Remember, the first 3 months has passed now, or is about to pass. Mr. Ngeza provided an explanation including that the process has advanced. If you recall, Commissioners, in his statement, he explained that at some point they were engaging IPID, and he took a discretion without talking to me, because remember that time I'm appointed, I'm no longer an acting HOD. I'm his absolute line manager, his absolute boss. But he took a decision that he'll use his discretion subsequent to the meeting they had with IPID. I've never met anybody from IPID to date, because I don't deal with SAPS with crime investigation matters. I deal with HR matters. But in our discussion with IPID, from what he explained even on his statement, is that arrest is imminent. They're going to arrest. And therefore, he took a discretion that perhaps he should not discipline. He must wait for the arrest. 3 months is going. He doesn't discuss that with me or Dr. Mashaz. So he decided at that point in time he's not going to proceed with the disciplinary, waiting for that arrest. And I got to know about this, as I say, in this statement, but Dr. Mashazi wanted answers at that time. And Dr. Mashazi decided then there is no point for us to extend the suspension any further. They've spoken to that. We're all called in a meeting. What I've realized with the city manager, the former city manager, is that every time she engages you, she's well vested with knowledge legally. At that time, I didn't know where she would been briefed, but you could hear that she's briefed. In our debate, that's why at some point we were told, me and Advocate Kemi, we're always together on things. Because I felt the only strategy to deal with things, I must bring legal as well when I go to engage with them. Is this a lawful instruction or not?
Sorry, can I just clarify? You're talking about a meeting in May. Do you have an exact date? Were there minutes from this meeting? Is there any record of the meeting that we could have access to?
Okay, the management style of Dr. Mashazi, I think earlier on I spoke that when this started, if you recall, the meeting took place in some car dealership.
Yeah.
So the way she will engage you, she will call you to a meeting. There is no prior agenda or arrangement of the meeting. You are just called to be there. Or she will call you and give instruction telephonically. That's how things were done. But as I said, that if you go to Chief Mapia's statement and Mr. Ngeza, I think they said, if I can recall, we were called telephonically. The instruction was given telephonically. I think that's where we differ. On my side, I'm saying I think we had a meeting on that particular day.
In your original statement, the earlier one, not the supplement, in 27.3 on page 9, that's where you deal with that meeting.
Okay. On the first statement, not the
Yes.
supplementary?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, but I think what I want to emphasize on is that we were all called and instruction was given.
But I understand that there was no formal agenda, kind of formal notice of the meeting. Was there any record of the meeting kept? Was either in the form of a minute, or was there anything confirming what was decided at the meeting? Is there any written record of what seems to me to be quite an important decision that was taken at this meeting and taken at the instance of the accounting officer?
No, there is no record of the meeting. I've said it earlier on that the management style was that you'll be instructed telephonically, even if there's a meeting, it's an informal meetings. The only formal meetings we'll have is the SMT, the Strategic Management Team meetings. There they record, they have minutes, and other formal meetings. But where there's instructions to be given, majority of time, you are just called. I think, if I recall, I went home, I had load shedding, I got missed calls from Xolani Ngeza that night. And then I responded when I woke up midnight, and at some point I did say in his WhatsApp as well, he confirmed that can he start drafting the letter. They drafted the letter. The following day, the letter was made available. I signed it, and Mr. Mkhwanazi, I said, can you also engage Chief and make sure that he calls Mr. Mkhwanazi to come and fetch his letter? One important thing, Chair, that I need to talk to, I might get to it at some point, but if I'm allowed, I want to raise it now. Or maybe let me wait for paragraph 53. I want to say here, what I want to emphasize on is the DPCA, clause 16(4). 3 months, you can extend, but an instruction was given by the accounting officer, and therefore there was no extension of the 3 months. To be honest, even bargaining council, they have no appetite of us extending suspensions. If they allow you, that 6 months will be the last, but they will be very hard on you. They expect that you should have started with the process. And my understanding, in terms of law, you will correct me, suspension is not punitive. It talks to, are you going to interfere with the witnesses? Are you going to jeopardize the process and so forth? So the debates, as I say, you find the city manager well-vested with knowledge legally. The debates become minimal, especially when there's also legal that is there, then I can only do so much as an HR practitioner.
Just so that I understand your evidence on this, you're not saying all of that about the bargaining council's appetite and the city managers being vested. You're not saying those are the reasons that there was no extension. You say there was no extension because the city manager instructed. It's that simple and plain. At least that's what you say in your statement.
For now, and as I said, I will elaborate when I get to
Okay.
paragraph
I was just
53.
clarifying. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
Thank you.
Can I'm also trying to get the sequence right. The meeting had to be before the 24th of May, because you say around the 24th of May, you reminded Mr. Mkhize to draft a letter of upliftment. Can you place approximately, how long before the 24th of May would it have been? A couple of days, a week? What are we talking about?
Thank you, Chair. I think it was around the 23rd, because if I recall, there was a draft of the extension. We intended to extend. In fact, if we extended again, I will keep on saying all these small errors or big errors we did wouldn't be here. So it was drafted. I had an appetite to extend. But like I said, that there's discussions that are taking place between Chief Xolani and Dr. Mashazi. And if I can get to 53, I will tell you what probably made Dr. Mashazi not to agree on the extension. So it would have been around the 23rd, and I'm reiterating, I wanted to sign the extension.
Do we have a copy of that draft, the draft to extend?
I'm not sure if it will be in my file, but it will be in the file of, I think, Mr. Mkhize or Chief Mapieye. And one of them also attested to that. I think Xolani Mkhize did mention that he did submit to me. We had a discussion. I was ready to sign. Thank you, Chair.
I think it's addressed in the statement of Mr. Mkhize, page 17 of that statement, paragraphs 43 to 45, but there isn't a copy of the document, the draft attached.
Chair, we'll make it available. We'll make it available this afternoon, tomorrow, just for ease of reference.
Thank you. And maybe if you can, have you said what you want to say in respect of 50.3?
Yes, I think it will overlap to the issue of the charge sheet and certain emails that transpired, and that probably also caused Dr. Mashazi not to want to extend. I'll speak to that.
Then the allegation in relation to the non-acceptance of the charge sheet. That's an allegation that we see at 3.2.2 at at page 42 of the statement of the annexure bundle. The allegation is that you directed Brigadier Mkhwanazi not to accept receipt of the charge sheet when arrangements were being made to serve it on him by Mr. Sidzambe. And you respond to that from paragraph 53. Can you just address your response now?
To address this issue, Chair, I'm disputing this allegation that is leveled against me, that I instructed Mr. Mkhwanazi, along with the accounting officer, not to accept the charge sheet. The first irregularity in terms of my annexure LLG 18, the
Sorry,
charge
just
sheet,
for the commissioners, that's page 90 of file 2. 90.
the charge sheet, Chair, a normal standard legally, although I don't want to get to the legal space, I'm not a legal practitioner. But a normal practice is that the charge sheet, somebody must make a comment when it's not served. So if you go to page 91, no, annexure 9, is it a page? Page 91.
Page 94 is the end of the charge sheet where there's a space for acknowledging receipt.
Okay. Oh yeah, page 94. Apologies on that. It's very clear. There's just a signature of Majang Inc. attorneys by Mohale Mahosh. There's no comment from the divisional head, erstwhile divisional head, Xolani Nxiza. There's no comment by Tami Sidzambe. Chair, I would like to take you to the emails, I think on page 95. That will start.
Sorry, before we get there, can I just get this clear? You deny that you instructed Julius Mkhwanazi not to accept the charge sheet?
I fully agree. I deny that.
I just wanted that on record.
Okay.
Now I think you were going to take us to the email trail, which is from page 95. And maybe it may make sense to take it back to front, because chronologically it starts on page 98 and then works backwards in time, or forwards in time.
I want us to go to page 98.
Sure.
That's a very important correspondence. In the middle, it says, "Dear Mr. Nxiza, the above matter refers, please find attached the charge sheet to be served on Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi. His contact details are as follows." The cell phone number is there. "Please note that the employee must be served by no later than today, 15th June 2023. For the economy of time, the employee may be served with the charge sheet today via email and then in person. For the economy of time, I'll repeat that, the employee must be served with the charge sheet today, underlined via email. I have not seen that email, Chair. And if you recall, on the statement of Brigadier Mkhwanazi, he then said he has never seen the charge sheet, has never been delivered to him. Remember now, we have a challenge that brought us here. where we've uplifted a suspension. The employee is easily accessible, is in the city of Ekurhuleni, is fully functioning, he's got an email address. But directed to Mr. Ngeza doesn't serve the charge sheet.
Can I just take you back up the correspondence, because I mean, obviously I don't know the true state, I can only infer what I see in the documents, but it seems to me that the charge sheet attached on the 15th of June would not have been served, because if you go up, you see there is an email from Henny Erasmus to Majang attorneys saying, "Dear Godfrey, after consultation with the Chief of Police, we added a 5th and 6th charge based on the evidence discovered during the investigation. We will elaborate on these during our consultation process." So there are now additional charges. And then if we go up further, so that was at 8:44 in the morning on the 19th. If we go up to the foot of page 96, we see Majang attorneys respond to Mr. Nliza again. "Dear Mr. Nliza, as discussed earlier today, please find the attached charge sheet and assist with service on the above-named employee, Brigadier Julius Mkonazi. It must be served today. His contact number is 073, etc. Please provide us proof of service." Then there is a similar letter at 11:09. So to Mr. Nliza was 11:02, to 11:09 it was to Mr. Sidzamba, also from Majang attorneys. That we see at the top of page 96. "Dear Tami, as discussed, please find attached charge sheet and assist with service on the above-named employee, Brigadier Julius Mkonazi. It must be served today." Then on the 20th, "Dear Tami, further to our telephone conversation earlier today, please find attached amended charge sheet for service on Brigadier Julius Mkonazi. It must be served today. The DC is scheduled for 3 July. Parties shall discuss and agree on further dates of hearing before the chairperson on 3 July. Please forward us proof of service as soon as you've served the charge sheet." Then Mr. Sidzamba, after receipt of the 20 June email, forwards to Mr. Nliza that email and says, "Good day, Nkokeli. Attached, please find the Julius Mkonazi charge sheet as provided by Majang attorneys. Kind regards, Tami Sidzamba." So this charge sheet clearly went through several iterations between 15 and 20 June, and it seems as though it wasn't served, it certainly hadn't been served before 20 June.
Thank you, Chair. One of the charges, the city, through the city manager, Mr. Kagiso Lerotla, have served me with the charges regarding my disciplinary hearing as I'm suspended. In one of those charge sheets, it says I misled counsel when I instituted the forensic report into what transpired here. We're going to get to that. But if somebody analyzes this, there's games that are being played here. In your last two communication between Xolani and Tami, Xolani sends the charge sheet to Tami, Tami sends the charge sheet to Xolani. Nobody is sending the charge sheet to Julius Mkonazi. They've been advised, and they know it. Serve the charge sheet via email. Thereafter, find Julius Mkonazi. If we did not uplift the suspension, I will understand if they're saying they can't find Julius Mkonazi anyway. Julius Mkonazi was in the employ of the city. There is no way you cannot find Julius Mkonazi. Now what happens, the blame is given to me and Dr. Mashaz that we refused to say, for Julius to accept the charge sheet. Another procedure and process you follow when you serve a charge sheet, Chair. If you're going to have amendments to the charge sheet, we all know You can have them done even when the DC has started. It will not stop you. Not at any given point in time. The bottom line is from the 15th, this charge sheet was never served. And then we have Dr. Mashaz who keeps on saying, HR, you're playing games here with your work. When she instructs us to uplift a suspension, there's big issues. But we have two employees who are playing games with one another. A divisional head who reports to me and his subordinates. They don't serve the charge sheet. I don't know what happens when I'm not there, Chair. Things they know that I wouldn't have known at that time. But I wanted to reiterate, and I want to still say that I'm refusing where I'm told Mr. Mkhwanazi must not serve the charge sheet.
Ms. Kashika, can I, just again to clarify, we've had evidence, including from Mr. Behari, that at some point there was a change in how things are done, where you and Mr. Behari were now to approve decisions about disciplinary action. At page 95, when was that decision in terms of date?
If you see, Chair, through you, Chair, if you see, Commissioner, 22nd August, 2023.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. That is after even the intended date of the DC must take place.
Yeah, no. Please try answer my question, then we'll go quicker. My question is really the date. When did that new regime of doing things come into effect? When
around
things
August.
Must be approved? Around August.
Around
so
August.
Around this date when this is sent to you?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
You've addressed the email correspondence. You then speak from paragraph 56 about a forensic audit. Can you explain what a forensic report. Can you explain what that forensic report was?
Thank you, Chair. EL. The forensic report, it emanated from an anonymous email, something like that, where it was, there were allegations of favoritism against Mr. Mkhwanazi in that his disciplinary hearing was never concluded. We then subsequently were all called by Dr. Mashazi, I think they've also spoke to that, into an urgent meeting as to come and explain what actually transpired here. And subsequent to that meeting, one of the key issues that were discussed on that meeting and is in that the scope of that forensic was who leaked the information of the city, who is dealing with, who's denting Dr. Mashazi's name and the CFO. I couldn't understand the part of the CFO, but now that I started following things here, I think it was talking maybe to the CFO of the Tembisa Hospital. I wasn't sure if it was our own CFO of that, but it was more about favoritism towards Mr. Mkhwanazi. So in the meeting, then Dr. Mashaz wanted answers. And she also complained.
I just need to clarify. The answer she wanted was, why has it leaked that this DC hasn't happened, or what were the answers that, what was the leak she was concerned about? Okay,
I was about to address that, EL. The first complaint is the leaking of the information. Number two is the issues of labor costs that were escalating. Number three is the absenteeism of the HOD, HR, and HOD legal on labor-related matters. In my scope and the request I made to internal audit, I further added the issue of how the ER division, it's one of the divisions that I'm responsible for, it's called Employee Relations, how they've been handling matters of EMPD in terms of grievances, labor dispute in general. But in my scope, I further became specific and said, in the Julius Mkhwanazi's matter. That's a very key part of the agreed engagement letter with internal audit. That actually what happened to Mr. Mkhwanazi's matter, how was it handled? Obviously, when you read these emails we spoke to earlier on, you can see that we had to do the investigation. The ball post and non-accountability and non-conclusion of this. So that report...
What was the investigation that you had to do?
It was looking at first who leaked the charge sheet and who leaked the whole process of Mkhwanazi's matter to Bitli, the anonymous email, because I think he wrote to Jeff Wicks, and then he copied Dr. Mashaz, myself, legal, and others. Number two, it was the management of labor relations matters by the Employee Relations and EMPD. I further said specifically the matter of Julius, the Deputy Chief of Police, Julius Mkhwanazi. Another scope, another point on the scope, it was the escalating labor-related cost. That, by the way, ended up with issues where even Majang, who was responsible for this case of Julius Mkhwanazi, and the three others, I think Scholes, Mackenzie, and Twala, Majang Incorporate attorneys was responsible for that case as well. That it started with the DC, I'll talk to it, but it was never concluded because we're not paying attorneys equivalent. Still a challenge to date. So that was my scope, Chair.
Can I, just in paragraph 6, you say the report came with findings including seeking a legal opinion as to whether we continue with the disciplinary process. Is that the report that came from Mr. Rakwale? He said you need to now get an opinion as to whether you should continue.
Yes, in fact, I was going to talk to that, EL.
Okay, please do.
Indeed, in the recommendations, despite in that report, they did speak to the limitations, and the limitations they had, it included the non-availability of the file, as Majang attorneys could not give us that file because he said we never paid him. That was one of the limitations on the scope, but one of the recommendations was, on top of all those other recommendations, a legal opinion must be sought. And I think we know that it was discussed here by Advocate Kemi. I'm not a legal practitioner. I do want to challenge legal opinions sometimes, and I will give my own mind into it. But ultimately, we are all key stakeholders in making certain decisions. And I think every institution, if you would not normally, under normal circumstances, if you would not heed to the direction provided by legal, you're going to be in trouble. But I'll leave it at that for now.
Maybe before you leave it, just so that we understand your evidence, what was the legal opinion that on continuing with the disciplinary hearing?
Okay. I know, through you, Chair, Commissioner, you want direct answers, but I want to give you a context. I really appeal for the context.
No, I'll tell you what, it's always helpful that you give the answer and then you can explain as necessary, because we end up getting lost. That's why in the last round, Mr. Chaskalson had to ask you, what is your answer? because you started by explaining and you forgot to say what in fact is your answer to a direct question. So my direct question is, what did the legal opinion say? And you should answer that, and then you can explain whatever you want to explain after that.
Thank you. The only legal opinion I saw in this matter was we are not going to discipline Mkhwanazi, despite what IPID has said. We're not going to discipline for whatever reasons. And as I said, I wouldn't want to do respectfully. So, can I be allowed not to enter into your space?
No, you have answered my question.
Thank you.
Are you referring to the document that was signed by 2 people, or are you referring to something else?
That one. The one
Mr.
that was signed by
Mr.
Advocate Zulu.
and,
I don't know if he's also an advocate, but Mr. Thabo Makweteng.
yes.
I would like to assume that is the final legal opinion the city of Ekurhuleni had on the matter of Mkhwanazi. One thing I would want to add, Chair, because I'm being persecuted Ekurhuleni through my evidence here, is that the report I initiated, it never reached council. It never reached council. And the reason I'm raising that, if that report went to council earlier on, again, I'm going to repeat, we might not be here. Council would have probably override certain of those recommendations. Where I'm told I'm misleading council, I'm saying when council asks questions and say to council, because the report only came in 2024 June, the final report. When it was sent to me by Mr. Philip Rakwale, he said, for your interest, just in case you might be interested, it's not my report. It's his report that must go to council with the other ones that I spoke to. But I kept on saying to council before the report was available that we are still investigating this matter. I think when we get to other levels in terms of how chief the events went from asking when are we finalizing this matter to a day he decided on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken, of June, that he is terminating this disciplinary process. I want to reiterate here, I wouldn't have supported that. And my evidence, the forensic report, and the letters I continuously wrote to my junk attorneys, bring back the files. My last meeting with my junk attorneys, it was in October, November last year, where I've said to Mr. Majang, I think we're in that meeting, if I can, we can go to page 21, paragraph 62. I was in that meeting with Philip Rakwale, where we had an online meeting with Mr. Majang. I indicated to Mr. Majang that the executive mayor and the city manager, the acting city manager at the time, they are looking at this matter now. It's no longer about us paying invoices.
Sorry, I think we may have lost each other with references. I have you at paragraph 58. Is that correct?
I've moved a long time ago. Paragraph?
58.
Oh, apologies. Thank you, EL. Apologies for that. Yes. In the last meeting, it took place in October, November 2025. The meeting was held on Teams, and it was attended by myself and Mr. Rakwale. I can make a copy available of the request and the agenda of that particular meeting.
Sorry. Just before we get to this meeting, again, I want to just clarify the chronology. The July anonymous email was July 2023 that triggered the forensic report.
If I'm not mistaken, it was August, the one I was copied on.
If you go back to paragraph 56. You say, all I can say is I'm the one person who followed the disciplinary matter of Mr. Mkhwanazi. I initiated the forensic report after the July anonymous email.
Okay, as I say, it's between July and August. Apologies about that.
And you initiated the forensic report when?
Immediately after we got that email.
Immediately after that
Yes.
email. So it's
Yes.
plus minus July, August
Yes,
2023.
yes.
But although the report was commissioned in July, August 2023, it was only concluded, you say, in June 2024.
Yes, in paragraph 56, yes, that's what I said.
And then nobody acted on it, or Mr. Akhwale only acted on it in July 2025.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry to take you out of your sequence. You were then now back at the last meeting in October, November 2025. The last meeting took place around October, November 2025. That meeting was held on Teams, and it was attended by Mr. Akhwale and myself. The issue of handing over of the ER files was top of the agenda. In the last meeting, despite the fact that I sensitized to Mr. Majang that the files were no longer required by council, but rather we need to prepare for the Majang Commission of Inquiry, as the executive mayor informed us to start with the preparations. I further reminded him that HR invoices, according to his latest emails, were paid. While we had problems with our investigation, EL, on my side, I pushed that let's pay Mr. Majang so that Mr. Majang can bring the files of the seat, so that we can conclude this matter. Despite it took 2 years or 3 years, we're here now. We could have done it internally. In his response, he then said, he made it very clear in the meeting that HR department is not an entity, a separate entity, but forms part of COE as the organization, and therefore, while other invoices remain unpaid, he will not release the HR files. But he further, I sensitized him, I think I don't want to repeat myself. In his response, he further said that if the Majang Commission inquiry subpoena the file, he will bring it here. But not a Kuruleni,
is there
as long as we
Majang-
have not paid his invoices.
Is there a Majang Commission of Inquiry?
Oh, no, apologies, apologies, Chairperson, Judge Madlanga. He said he will bring the files to Madlanga Commission inquiry if there's a subpoena. Rather than that, because we're not paying the invoices, he will not give me the files. Apologies once more about that.
No, not at all.
Another strange incident, I think I'm on page, still on page 20, paragraph 60. Another strange incident that I feel it must be brought to the attention of the commission is that while I couldn't win with Mr. Majang, and I fully comprehend his demise, we don't pay invoices. They need to feed their families and of their staff. I asked the coordinator in my office to call Mr. Tsami Sijamba and to check once more if indeed there is not even a thin file we have from the ER division. And the way they've been doing things in the ER division under Mr. Ngiza, who was the divisional head reporting to me, they will leave everything to the law firms. Everything. You ask them, they are going to bargaining council, they go without a file. But in this particular instance, Mr. Sidamba, he says something that's very strange to me and the lady in my office, that at some point, Mr. Ngiza said he must delete every document relating to Mr. Mkhwanazi disciplinary matter. I called myself, Tami, and he confirmed that. I found that very shocking, and it was difficult to comprehend on my side. But as I said, Mr. Majang is willing to bring the file here, if you can save the city. All the issues I've mentioned above, including the matter, I wouldn't want to mention the name of the company, where we had to pay a company that doesn't exist, form part of the outstanding investigation reports, and the matter of Julius Mkhwanazi is one of them, and also how these have been handled by the city. And it's one of the things that we have to get them right. One of the proposals I've made, because when I looked at how much we budget for labor-related costs and the staff we have internal, I propose that some of the positions, based on the budget, maybe let's fill positions, because if a person is appointed, you're going to be forced to pay that person. Nonetheless, there are complex matters. There will always be complex matters that need an external law firm. So it's one of the things that we've started filling positions at legal. We're in a process of filling similar positions of legal advisors in HR to try and keep things in the city. But I'll keep on saying, unfortunately, we find ourselves in this space. I've already spoken to the issue of the Financial Misconduct Board. I would like to skip those paragraphs. Through you, Chair.
Certainly do.
Maybe before you proceed, just so that I understand what it is you're saying in that paragraph 61, you have the name which you skipped. I assume it's the name of a company. You say that name Meta, which forms part of the other outstanding investigation reports. The matter of Julius Mkhwanazi and how they are or have been handled by all involved in the city remains important. And then you go on to speak to the financial misconduct disciplinary role. Are you saying to us that the matter of that company or the reports and or the reports that are before the Financial Misconduct Disciplinary Board include matters relating to Commissioner Mkhwanazi? Is that what you're conveying in that paragraph?
Thank you, Commissioner. Indeed, Commissioner, I think what I was trying to say earlier on, if you recall, that the 20 to 40 forensics, between these numbers, I know it's a big difference, I shouldn't be not knowing the number. If they came to the board, the disciplinary board, and we dealt with, including the report of Mkhwanazi, that will then subsequently go to council, we might not be here.
You're not saying the forensic reports, the 22, whatever number forensic report, and that company name Meta, you're not saying they relate to Commissioner Mkhwanazi. That's what I'm trying to understand, what your evidence is.
The forensic report of Commissioner Mkhwanazi,
yes,
forms part of all these forensic reports that are sitting with the Internal Audit Office.
Okay.
And that are not being discussed and concluded and go to council. Apologies.
Thank you.
But you don't have any knowledge that that company has any link to Julius Mkhwanazi?
No, they don't.
Mr. Chaskalson, before we move to the next topic, this is maybe for lunch and it can be dealt with after lunch. Mrs. Kasheka mentioned something in passing and it relates to one of the allegations against her, which was her involvement in the withdrawal of charges around 20 to 21 June 2023. Where her intervention was sought by Mapieye and she and Behari got involved. So she only dealt with the last part where she says, I did not agree with the withdrawal, but she didn't give the full context and how it came about. Maybe during lunch she can have regard to, I think it's JM 31 and 32 of Mapieye. It's those three up to JM 33, which would be the last one. And then she can just deal with that before she's asked questions about it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chaskalson, do you want to start something new or?
I'm happy for us to take the lunch break now. I think we should, I'm quite anxious to get through the whole statement before we leave today. And we may need to do some of the topics going forward at a higher level. But let's break for lunch now.
Let's adjourn and resume at 2 p.m.